How's it going, guys? JP back at you once again, bringing you guys another Top 10 Tuesday. As always, check the description box down below where you can find the links to all the other cats who are also doing Top 10 Tuesdays. Make sure you check out their videos as well as sub up their channel. So, the theme this week, the topic of discussion, is Top 10 Remakes. Love them, hate them. Most people hate them. I've grown to accept them over time. Everybody used to be very, very bitter at any moment when a remake was announced. I think we all, as purists, still get that weird feeling every time we hear a film is being remade, and it's usually negative, and I'm guilty of it as well. But by the time the film starts production and gets casted and, eventually ends up being filmed and released, I usually have come around to the idea of checking it out. So I try to go a little easier on remakes nowadays because they have their place in horror. So these are my 10 favorite. I do think that some of these are, the best remakes that there ever have been. So let's start with number 10. First up, number 10, we have The Ring. And the reason I chose The Ring is because, well, it's better than the original in my opinion. I'm not the biggest fan of the original Ring or Ringu, and I'm, not overly the biggest fan of this Ring either. But I do think that it is an amazingly well done movie. In terms of, atmosphere, cinematography, acting, it is a pretty scary movie. It's just not really my thing. The Japanese ghost story never really appealed to me that much, but I can appreciate the film for its greatness. And I really do think this one is a little bit underrated in terms of just, cinematic technique. So The Ring is definitely a very solid one. Creepy. It really did kind of get under my skin. When it came out in that weird time where, now a VHS tape is so far removed from us, but it's right in that, early 2000s where they were still around. It's kind of weird thinking about it now. But yeah, so number 10 is The Ring. Coming in at number 9, we have Evil Dead. This is the Evil Dead remake, obviously. A lot of people have major issues with this film. I have one major issue, and it is the defibrillator scene. I find it to be incredibly stupid and gimmicky, very annoying. But other than that, man, I had a blast watching this film. I defended it many, many times, both on my channel and on the podcast. I really do think it's a good movie. It's very well done. It's a splatter flick. It's straight horror. It's not comedy. It's, hardcore horror, which is what I love. A lot of gore. It's just a, gore fest, and, there's a lot of practicals in there. Yes, it does not have the classic Ash character, but I think, standing on its own feet and kind of removing that kind of made it its own film a little bit. And overall, I just liked the amount of horror that was in this film. It really feels like a horror film to me, which is pretty rare to see in a modern cinema. To go to the theater and see a true horror film is pretty rare these days. So definitely Evil Dead is one of my favorites, and it's pretty recent, but it's definitely one that I'll go back to a couple more times over the years. So next up we have, this one's a classic right here, and that is The Fly. This is, of course, Cronenberg's The Fly. I've actually, oddly enough, never seen the original Fly, but I do absolutely love this remake. It's just a great movie. I love the setting. The scientific stuff is a little shaky nowadays, being, a little dated and stuff, but, the gore is there. The body de-evolution transformation is very, very solid. Kind of has that claustrophobic, almost cabin fever sense to it, with Seth Brundle trapped up in his apartment. It's just overall just a very well made movie. Cronenberg killed it with this one. It's a film that's been ripped off and you know, satired many, many, many times, and, you know, just a great remake. After that, we have sort of a newer one, and that is Maniac. This, of course, is the Elijah Wood starring Maniac. This was my favorite film of the year 2013. Absolutely loved it. From everything from the POV style down to the score and music choices, I loved this film. I thought it was near perfect as it could have been in terms of a remake. It, you know, captured things that I loved about the original while maintaining a kind of course to separate itself from the original. It just really had all the elements I loved and added some new elements. Very good practical effects, very brutal, very voyeuristic. Just, you're looking at the film through the eyes of the killer, and it's very psychological. Just all around, it's such an amazing film. I really do love Maniac. I need to give it another watch soon, because it's just one that, you know, blew me away when I checked it out. I was just, you know, visually just stuck watching the film because it was just so smooth, and I just loved it. It was almost poetic in a way. It's a great movie. So that was number 10, 9, 8, 7. We're on number 6, and that is The Blob. So The Blob is definitely a classic remake. This is, you know, one of the 3 big remakes from the 80s in my opinion. It's a film that it took me a long time to see. I'm a pretty big fan of the original Blob as well, but this one is definitely the better film. It really does stand out in its practical effect. I mean, it's truly amazing the stuff that they was able to do in the Blob. I mean, I can't believe some of the stuff. I have no idea how some of it was done, and it just, it has this 80s feel to it, this monster movie with this giant, you know, pink stuff. It's just such a good movie, and it's a blast to watch. This is one that you would show to, you know, really any type of person that you want to kind of, you know, check out a horror film with you. You know, if they don't like horror, if they do like horror, if it's a date, if it's a little brother, if it's, you know, your mom, anybody can watch The Blob. It's a great, fantastic movie. So coming in at number, what are we on, 5? Yeah, 5. Coming in at number 5, we have Mother's Day. Mother's Day is a really, really, really awesome movie. I have never seen the original one, but I've always liked this remake ever since it came out back in, you know, 2012-ish. I think it was released. It was made in 2010, but I think it didn't get its official DVD release until 2012. But it was one of my favorite films of 2012. And it just has all these elements that I love about it. I've done a podcast on this film before as well, but it kind of has, you know, this contained feel to it. It's kind of a contained horror film where you have these group of characters, you know, trapped, held hostage. There's some, you know, sick moments to it. There's some, one of the moments that I really like is when one of the sons basically finds 2 women on a street, throws a knife down on the ground and says, "I'm going to kill you both if one of you don't kill each other." And I just love that concept. It's very frightful, very scary. So coming in at number 4, we have The Hills Have Eyes. This is a fantastic one as well, and I've always been a big fan of this remake in particular. It's one of the best out there, simply because it kind of improves on the original in certain aspects. It really does take the idea and concept and just modernize it and make it a little more sleek, a little bit more badass. Still has that grittiness to it. But yeah, The Hills Have Eyes is definitely one that I go back to a lot. It's probably one of the best remakes of the modern times. Coming in at number 3, we have Halloween. This is Rob Zombie's film, of course, and I've defended this one to death as well. It's just a classic remake, in my opinion. It's weird to say, a classic remake. I love so much things about it. You know, the beginning part where you've never really kind of saw Michael Myers as a child. Some people hate it, but I love that segment in the film. It's very strong in my opinion. Rob Zombie handled it better than anybody could have. That is a hard story to tell, and he nailed it. Halloween 2007, I believe, classic stuff right there. I fucking love this remake. It's one that I, kind of restored my faith in remakes. I mean, like, I was hating them, and then I saw that they don't all have to be bad. So coming in at number 2 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and this one a lot of people don't like, but I've just, since it came out, man, I mean, you guys know that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is my favorite horror film of all time, but, the remake, I like a lot of things about it, and one of the main things I like about it is it took what I loved about the original couple films, and that is it added to the family members. R. Lee Ermey as Sheriff Hoyt, he could have fit in with Bill Moseley, with the cook, Chop Top and the Hitchhiker. He is one of them, and that's what I loved so much about the film, is it really does just feel like another Chainsaw story, because that's what they all were anyway. There's really only one sequel in that original 4, and that is Texas Chainsaw 2. So, quickly wrapping it up here, because my camera is dying, we have number 1, and that is John Carpenter's The Thing. Absolute classic film. I've talked about it before. It is the best remake. It's the best one ever made, because it is just it's one of the best horror films ever made, which automatically, since it's a remake, makes it the best remake ever made. John Carpenter, this is his best film in my opinion. Although I love Halloween, this film is perfect. It is one of those films that I see nothing wrong with. It has so many elements to it, from the claustrophobia to the setting with the cold environment. If the isolation, the paranoia, it does so many things that I love about horror films. So guys, my camera's dying. I'll see you guys next time with another top 10. Thank you for watching. Peace out.